Okay, so what I'm doing here, I've got the differential out of my Rustler. See, it's all off, rear suspension, all that nonsense. So I got the differential out here. And what I want to do is lock the differential. So you'll notice these both axles turn the same way. If I turn the motor, both axles turn the same way. But if I hold on to this axle and still turn the motor, this axle in my hand is not turning, this axle is turning. Now this axle in my hand is the one with the most resistance, usually meaning it's the stuck one, and the one that is turning is the one with the least resistance and is usually free. So this is not great. So what I want to do, because my Rustler is often driven off-road, I want to have a locked differential, especially for snow, so that when I do get stuck, both tires are still spinning. One other type of differential you can have is commonly known as a positive differential that puts all the power to the tire that has the most resistance, so that would be the one in my hand here that I'm touching. However, I don't know a good way to mimic that setup because it involves a bunch of clutches and stuff inside the differential. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this differential apart and lock it. I'm probably just going to use some JB weld to lock it. That's my guess. I'll just fill up the spider gears and stuff with JB weld. So then when I turn the motor, or when the motor turns, both of these axles will always turn together. There will be no one axle turning and the other not, as what is happening right now. This one will turn and that one will turn. So that's what I'm going for here. Okay, so now we have the differential apart. There's 3 gears. This is the input gear. Basically, the pinion gear on the motor spins the ring gear on this shaft, which drives everything else. It drives this gear in here, and this gear here in turn drives this gear. And this assembly here is what we're interested in. These are where the drive axles go on either side. One drive axle goes on this side, one drive axle goes on that side. So we'll just pull this assembly out. Okay. Put these screws aside. So I've never had one of these apart, but I believe this is what we're interested in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these 4 screws, take it apart. We should expect to see a bunch of smaller gears inside here. And essentially what I'm doing, or what I want to do, is let's just say hold this one. The one in on the right side is not spinning. And the left side is, with the differential. So essentially what's inside here is a bunch of small gears that allow one side to spin and the other not spin, and basically what I'm going to do is just fill everything up with glue. JB weld epoxy to be specific, metal epoxy. Strong stuff. Fill it up with glue, and that's going to keep anything from being able to spin. So both drive axles, here and here, will be running at the same time. That's basically it. Okay, so I got this apart. You can see I got the 2 halves here. This is one half, and the other half. So basically, this is one of the output axles, and then the other axle gets output here. So the drive gear for that one, let's get the camera to focus. Sorry, the camera's not focusing. There we go. Is this one right in there. So what happens is we've got these 4 gears around the edges here that basically when say this drive axle was stuck experiencing high resistance, is stuck in a puddle, or like not a like a mud puddle or a bunch of snow or something, and the other side was spinning, was easy to spin, then this side would stop spinning and it would transmit all the power to the side that's easy to spin, which usually is the side that has no traction, which doesn't help us get out of stuck stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart, I'm going to clean all the grease out, and then quite literally I think I'm just going to fill it with epoxy, because I can't see any reason why I would want to have a non-locking differential. If you drive on the road a lot, it'll make your tires wear a little faster, but for off-roading, yeah, I think it's probably the best thing there is. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Now I guess it would put maybe a bit more stress on your drivetrain or your motor. So if one of your tires was really stuck, you'd be putting a lot of stress on things. But I guess that's why you have the slipper clutch that goes on here. So basically, you do maybe have to pay a bit more attention when you're driving after you've locked it, so that you're not trying to keep turning the wheels if something is severely stuck, because you might be liable to snap something. But this is a pretty easy way, I think, to improve the off-road performance. Okay, so I've got some epoxy mixed up here, specifically JB Weld. I've mentioned that a couple times now. The JB Weld I'm using, because there's a couple different types. I think it's just the JB Weld Classic, for auto, marine, farm, and garden. But it's a steel reinforced epoxy, which is probably not necessary for this, but it's a little stronger. You can actually mold it quite a bit after you've used it. So I've got it mixed up. I'm going to be filling this, and then I'm gonna put this gear in, fill it up, press these 4 gears in, and then fill the extra space. Put this gear in, and then put the plate on, and then screw it down and let it dry, and it'll be perfect. Okay, so I am going to basically just push these gears in now. They're all the same, all 4 are the same. So I'll just push them in. This is a messy job, no way around it. And you're going to take this that I was using to stir the epoxy, push them down. So one of these needs to drop down a little bit further. I think it's this one. There we go. So these 4 are in. I still have quite a bit of space in here for epoxy. So I'm going to mix up some more epoxy and then fill it in. Now I'm going to pack it in. Okay, and then I'm just going to try and get it off of this rim here so that I can get the other plate back on without a problem. And off again if I ever need to, but I don't think I would be able to do anything with this differential. Yeah, I guess that's the thing about this. So what you're doing here is basically you're creating what in the real world you'd call a welded differential, which is basically, in this case, with the way we're doing it, it's irreversible. So be sure you want this before you do it, but yeah. So just make sure it's nicely packed in. I'm just kind of pushing it in there, make sure it's filling in all the gaps in between the gears. Okay, and you know what, since I never need to get this cover off again, might as well just stick it on. This cover only goes on one way because some of these some of the spider gears in there are lower down, so this sticky outy part covers the lower down gear. Okay, so that pressed back on fine. Except, you know what? Forgot to put this thing in. Alright, hang on a second. Okay, so I had some trouble getting the differential to fit back together with these two pins down here inside, so I figured I don't really need them because everything's going to be glued together, so I just pulled them out and went back together pretty good. Before the epoxy dries, I'm just going to clean all the epoxy off the outside here so that everything on the outside has nice surfaces to ride against in the rest of the gearbox. But basically the inside of this whole thing here is full of epoxy, so it won't be able to rotate. And already now I can't rotate these by hand, so it's already better. So yeah, that's basically it. I'll just take a few more pictures of the reassembly, but thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this is helpful to you, and if you do it, let me know how it goes. I'm curious, even if you do it on a different car, but the basic principle should be the same, because all of the RC cars that I've seen have got these spider gears, unless it's some sort of rock crawler, but most of them I've seen have got these spider gears inside the differential. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Alright, so got the differential back together. All the bolts are in, or screws. And you notice this isn't really a sealed differential. That is the gear there that I had apart with the spiders in it. It just has this little piece of tape that goes over top, helps keep the grease in, and it's supported like here. So it's not like it is wide open to the elements. So it's alright. Anyways, that is basically it as far as the differential swap, or not differential swap, but as far as the job goes, locking the differential. So just reassemble the rest of the rear end components and you're good. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video.